Hello, I'm Mr. Assisted, an indie software developer using AI to build cool stuff. And no, I'm not automated, I'm using AI to animate my image in real time. What is GEO? GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. It's the practice of optimizing content to be discovered through an AI engine's organic results. Imagine your brand sells running shoes. Since the rise of Google search, your brand has known that if someone searches best running shoes, it's important for your brand to show up in the search results. The practice of optimizing content to appear in those search results is called SEO, or Search Engine Optimization. Now that AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini are skyrocketing in popularity, users are often going to use those AI tools instead of asking the questions in a Google search box. And even when users do search on Google, their answer is often delivered by an AI summary rather than traditional search result links. What can your brand do to appear in ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini's organic answers? Do these AI models have a positive image of your brand? Do they even know that your brand exists, or do they know basic information about it? Do the models tell users false or misleading information about your brand? Let's dive into the mysterious world of Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO. The first and most critical thing to understand about AI models like ChatGPT is that we don't actually know some details about how they even work. I've looked online to see what other resources are out there talking about generative engine optimization, and a lot of content ignores basic fundamental things like this. You see, an AI model is trained on a large amount of training data, which is called its corpus of training data. The corpus is all of the data that gets fed into the model while it's training. This is like having it sit there and read all the information on the entire internet in order to learn as much as it can. This leads people to think that AI models work like search engines, just retrieving whatever data is relevant from the training data. That's not how it works. An interesting part about the AI brain that comes out on this other side of the training is that it has information inside of it that wasn't in the training data. One of the most cutting-edge fields in all of science and technology is just trying to understand how this process works so that we can control it better and have it work in a safer way. Not only that, each AI model like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini thinks and acts very differently. Even different versions of the same model, like ChatGPT 3.5 versus 4.5, may have very different personalities, and you should really start to think of them like personalities. What does all of this mean for your brand? It means compared to the world of search engine optimization, with GEO, you have way fewer tools available to you to both measure how AI is talking about your brand and control how AI talks about your brand in the future. First off, let's talk about measuring our existing generative engine optimization. Because once a model is created, in today's world, that pretty much solidifies its behavior going forward. So all of the models out there, whatever they think about your brand, that's pretty much what you're dealing with for right now. Now, measuring your performance in the Google search world was much clearer. You could type in a search term that you wanted to rank for, see where you showed up in those 10 blue links, and the higher you ranked, the better. In a GEO world, it's way harder to tell how you're performing. To even begin to have some idea of how brands were performing with their generative engine optimization, I actually built a website because I'm kind of curious about all of this. It's called AIRanksEverything.com. This is the first initial version, but as you can see, you can, for free, without logging in, just go type any brand or person or product into the search, and it will pull up basic information about what AI models think about it. Keep in mind, the information presented isn't the actual information. What you're seeing is what the AI model thinks about the person, brand, or product. It's also very important to note that some of the information presented here is sometimes incorrect. For example, I went and searched a very popular influencer, Pokimane, who has millions of followers. As you'll see here, it not only gave the wrong website for what it said her domain name was, that website is actually available for purchase. This is the Gemini flashlight model, which is extremely popular and is used behind the scenes in tons of products that are live today. This means that anytime this model suggests that wrong domain going forward, people are going to be pointed to the wrong place. If an influencer or brand knew something like this was happening, they could just go ahead and purchase the domain and point it to their actual working website. Let's take a look at a basic example. Here, for example, is Allbirds, the clothing and apparel brand. We get basic information like where the model thinks it's located, what the model thinks are its websites and socials. But beyond that, it gives us its subjective opinion of the brand. For example, is the brand trustworthy or innovative? Is it growing or stagnating? What are its major competitors and what market share do those competitors have? What are the categories this brand is part of? And who are key people associated with the brand? Any of these things can be clicked on and you can get a detailed analysis of those things as well. Note that things like the NPS score or Net Promoter Score are not the brand's NPS score. They are what the AI model thinks might be the NPS score of the brand. There are some example queries here too, which are things that if you were the brand, you would hope to show up for, and things you would hope you didn't show up for. And you can test those out loud to see if you do or do not show up in the answer. So if you want to get a basic starting point of the GEO of your brand, your competitors, or your products, go ahead and go to AIRanksEverything.com and do a free search and see what shows up. But if you'd like, you can subscribe for premium reports across all different types of AI models with a comprehensive analysis, and you can share those reports with your team and look like you're way ahead of the curve. Also, if any new models come out, you'll be the first to know how it feels about your brand. Now, based on what we explained about how AI models work, you can tell that there are some deficiencies here. This is kind of just a starting point and a test to see if people are interested in this kind of thing. For example, if you ask ChatGPT about the same thing multiple times, it might give you a slightly different answer. It might suggest multiple different websites as one that could be your website. If people care about this, I'll improve it vastly in the future and do things like querying it multiple times to see the statistical chance that it might say different things about your brand. Beyond that, you should spend some time talking to different popular AI models about your brand. They all have a very different personality, and you'll pick up a lot of nuances from each one about what it thinks about you. Now, that's a bit about understanding your existing GEO. What do you do about improving your GEO going forward? Well, the most important factor for how any AI model talks about your brand or product is the data it was trained on. And unfortunately, this is controlled completely by whoever is creating the model. That means that if there's a lot of data in the training set that speaks highly of your brand, it's fairly likely that the responses from AI model will also speak highly of your brand. This also means that most of the best practices with GEO going forward are going to be relatively similar to the practices around SEO. You want lots of great content online speaking highly of your brand, and you want your brand to generally be seen as an authoritative voice on whatever your target market is. So keep putting good content out there, and in the meantime, start by keeping tabs on how AI models feel about your brand. It's worth noting also that even though maybe you haven't even heard of some of these AI models like Gemini or Llama or DeepSeek, these AI models are being used behind the scenes inside of other products. That means that if you see a product with an AI autocomplete or an AI suggestion feature, that team probably didn't build their own AI model. They're using one of these like Llama or DeepSeek or Gemini behind the scenes. So even if you think it's not a popular model, it might mention your brand tons of different times, so it's still good to know what it thinks about your brand. Another trend you might want to keep an eye on is that we're seeing data that suggests that most people don't want to pay for these AI models. They'll use a free version. That's kind of the same thing that happened with search. And the reaction to that happened in the search world was that search became ad-supported. We might start seeing a world where these language models are ad-supported as well, which means that you're going to be back to the same dynamic as we have in the search world where you're paying Google to show up in Google search results. You might have to pay these model companies to show up in the AI models results. Finally, we've only really been talking about large language models like ChatGPT that are dealing purely with text. As you can see here, I told a video model to generate a video of what it thought was the best running shoes brand, and you can see that GEO played a big part in the resulting video that came out. So right now, most people are using language models, and so you should probably focus on language models, but this is going to be relevant for generative video and images as well. Go ahead and try AIRanksEverything.com, let me know what you think, and give me suggestions of what to build in the future. I can build basically anything with it. So anything helpful to you, let me know. Subscribe to me here or on any of my socials. I'm Mr. Assisted everywhere on the internet. Thanks, and let's try to build the best version of the future that we can.